This podcast is a collaboration between Costard and Touchstone Productions and the Dads from the Crypt podcast.
CCPD, this is Marlboro State Police. Dave, Kurt, are you there? Over.
Jack, we need your assistance. The town's gone crazy. People are being killed. Over.
What's all these reports about circus clowns?
These clowns aren't people. They're some kind of creatures, things from another planet. Look, Jack, they're killing people. Officer Mooney is dead. I know I saw it. He was killed by one of these things. Could you send all available units immediately, please? Over.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the How Not to Make a Movie podcast. I'm Alan Katz. Before we start, I want to talk synergy. Synergy is a remarkable thing. It's that spark that ignites when a collaboration between two people suddenly takes wing. That spark can also ignite between lots more than just two people, and when it does, and the synergy starts to flow, oh man, there is nothing like it. Gil and I had to find each other in order to become a creative team. Our guests for this episode, the CHIODA brothers, well, they had an advantage because, well, they were brothers. Now, not all family acts become the MARX brothers. Plenty turn into the MURDOCHS or the REDSTONES. But the Chiodas, Stephen, Edward, and Charles, well, these guys had synergy from the drop. You can feel it in their puppetry and their puppet creations, everything from Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, the work they've done on the Simpsons and for Team America, among many, many others. And of course, you can witness it in all its glory in the Chioda's masterpiece, the B-movie classic, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, now celebrating its 35th anniversary as a thing. When Gil and I were doing Crypt all those years ago, our management, ours and the Chiodas, thought there'd be synergy between the five of us. The whole idea was Killer Clown guys plus the Crypt Keeper guys equals movie or TV series gold. Back up the Brinks, Truck Brothers. Alas, we never got that far down any creative roads together. Or should I say, we haven't yet. Our chat started with just one Chioda, Stephen.
Are just such cool fans. I'm so surprised that after 35 years, we have such a fan base. So I'm always happy to see whoever shows up.
Was there ever, now with us, what Gil and I are experiencing with Tales from the Crypt is a resurgence.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was a long period when I can tell you, as someone who was looking for work, Gil was always gainfully employed. As someone who was looking for work, there was a lot of years when Tales from the Crypt was a fucking anvil around my neck. It's like, that's
In what
it?
way?
That's it?
Oh, that's it?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
they look at me like that was 1,000 years ago.
well, I have a similar issue. I usually say Killer Klowns is my first feature film. Then I say it was my only feature film. Then we've been trying to get a feature going since for 35 years now. So yeah, we all have our albatrosses. But still, you're right about the resurgence. What's interesting is, at least the people I've talked to, they just really love and embrace the 80s movies. And I think it's because of the traditional hands-on, tangible effects. I mean, this is a generation that's grown up on CG their whole entire life. So now they see these 80s movies and say, what's that? Why is that different? And I think they really love it. So I think that's why we're both experiencing a resurgence.
I think so. I think you're right. You know, we've had people come up to us, young people, who said that they saw it as when they were kids and their parents, you know, would let them sneak into the television room and they would watch it after the parents went to sleep. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, you know, they're adults now, they're grown up. And I'm just amazed that they're still interested in wanting to hear more about the show and about what we're doing.
Absolutely. And it's multi-generational, just like ours. I mean, people who loved it in the 80s got married, had kids, showed it to their kids have friends, it spreads to them. And now it's like 3 generations.
Yeah.
Everything old gets new again, and here we all are. And man, hey, fantastic, great, good.
Yeah, I know. I wish we had this success when I was younger.
But you know what? Oh, you would have wasted it. It would have been wasted on you. Now you're older and wiser. You know what to do with it.
I'm older.
Yeah.
Talk about our careers in between time. We've been pitching and pitching and pitching all these years. It's not like we haven't been inactive, and we've come really, really close to some things, and things just kind of fade away with that that phenomenon called musical chairs in the creative development departments of every studio.
Yeah.
But we managed, and I think we called you guys. We were developing something at Nickelodeon. We had like a 3-show deal there. And we did something we called Squid Zone, which was like the Little Rascals meets Monsters, modern day. And it was a team of sci-fi geeks. You guys, the term squids? That's what they call the convention geeks.
Yeah.
And it was a bunch of little geeks who were fighting monsters in their hometown. And we were developing it Nickelodeon. And, CHIODA Brothers, we're like kind of writers, but we're not writers, like showrunners. So we were always looking for somebody. And I think Edward might have talked to maybe Gil, I think it was. I don't know. That's why I wish Edward was here, because we did kind of bump into you guys because we were always looking for a kind of like a writing team to work.
We did at one point. I know that our manager, we had a meeting with you guys at your facility.
Yeah.
And
do you remember what it was?
I don't remember what it was, but it was a long time ago.
The thinking was, we like a mixture of horror and comedy. You like a mixture of horror and comedy. Surely there's some synergy that can be made between this, this guy and this guy, and you could have something miraculous. It takes time to do that. We never had a chance to actually do that. Nothing ever came of it.
No. It's you and a bunch of other people we've tried to collaborate with. It's just, schedules and interests and what's going on in everybody's lives. It doesn't always connect. But
you know what?
Always have you guys in mind.
But yes, and I would say, we all still have time. None of us are dead yet.
That's right.
There you go.
At you. We should run a Squid Zone by you guys, or Squid Squad, I think it was called. And then, was it Black and White? Our reality cop show with monsters. This is like way, way back.
Yeah, that I remember. Actually, I remember that. I think that's the one we came to your place.
Yeah.
To talk about, and I think your place was. It's like
way
right
out.
near on a ramp. The ramp went over to Burbank, and you took the street going down.
Yeah.
And you were right on the right side of that ramp.
Yeah, we're right just almost underneath the ramp of the 5 in Burbank. Yeah. So many great ideas have not been produced over these years. That was a great one. Remember, with the reality cop show, it was like played absolutely straight, not winking at the camera, no Ghostbusters special equipment. These were regular cops meeting up with these like extraordinary things. Yeah. And it was great. Oh, we loved the idea. But,
funny, now that you mention it, it is flooding back to me. And suddenly I remember, I remember you guys pitching the idea to us. Oh my God, it's just beginning to, that door behind a door behind a door. Suddenly,
do you remember it was
open? Oh yeah.
We had a presentation that was like cop files. And we'd open up with the Weekly World News that all this stuff was real, but nobody pays attention to it. Then I had cop files of all these like werewolf attacks and bug men and things. And we had all the files and evidence and all that. It was, we went to Comedy Central with, what was her name? Oh, I'm going to kick myself. She was head of Deborah Leland. Yeah, I think it was her. And we pitched like it was real. I said, look, we were talking to some people down in LAPD, and they said they gave us this file, and it's like, these are things that are really happening that nobody knows about. And she was just kind of enthralled. But you know what kind of killed it? They wanted to make it a comedy. They wanted to put jokes, like 5 or 6 jokes on every page. And we said, no, you have to play it straight. Have to play it straight. And so creatively, we didn't see eye to eye. But it's really interesting. About 6 months later, they came out with that, what's that cop show that was on Comedy Central? Reno 9/11?
Yeah, Reno, yeah.
I wish they had done Bright Squad.
We should have taken you guys up on that. It's funny, looking back at the silly things you do in a career. at one point, Gil and I had a development deal at ABC Productions, and it was anything we wanted to do, and we are, the thing that everyone knew us for was horror, but we wanted to do a romantic comedy, and no one stopped us, and nobody stopped us. Oh my God!
Oh well,
stupid.
You
we
got a
should have
3-picture
taken.
deal. You do a first one horror, and the second one romance. Oh,
Now he tells me.
Yeah, and what was it? Actually, we had a deal with John Landis. I was working with John on The Stupids. We were doing animation effects, and he saw we had like our little demo for Fright Squad on it. And actually, behind our back, he kind of sold it to Disney because he had a deal at Disney. So we were really happy. I mean, John Landis would be really great. So we had our initial negotiations, and it just didn't happen. How we were going to do it. So a lot of missed opportunities. Here we are in LA where everybody's doing it, and so much doesn't get done.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing that anything does get done.
That's the unique exception. Yeah.
The thing that I really like about the podcasting world, it's entirely DIY. And we don't have to rely on anybody to put out a piece of produced work every week. And hey, I've got a theory that Napster has come for us all. That Napster first destroyed the music business. And what Napster did was it destroyed the need for a music store or even a music company, because everything could go peer to peer. I could share my entire collection with you, and you could share your entire collection with me. And it simply destroyed all the economics that had kept the thing afloat. Before Napster, music acts would tour to support their album sales. And then Napster destroyed that. And so now you had to basically just give the music away to support, so that hopefully they'd come and see it. They come and see a tour.
And buy T-shirts. That's what the merch is what kind of keeps the road shows going.
Yeah. So, it completely screwed up the economics. At the end of the day, I think Napster came for us all. And I think the TV business certainly has felt the effects of that. Streaming has a kind of a peer-to-peer quality to it in a strange way. At the end of the day, I think the convention business is peer-to-peer. Yeah. And that is our fans' opportunity to come and really to tell us person to person what we've done, and how much they've enjoyed our work in their lives. And it's how a lot of the future of the business is going to be. It's going to grow out of that peer-to-peer relationship.
Well, I think so too. And I think what I liked about it was it democratized filmmaking. Everybody now has an iPhone, which has a 2K, 4K quality that we have at our studio. So now everybody, and I think everybody's an artist, everybody can create. Now we're seeing a greater variety of things done by people out there. And it's really exciting. And it kind of cuts into all the studio stuff. But it's interesting, the streaming world right now is going to be going more towards the traditional broadcast model with commercials and shit. Which I think,
it has to.
The young people aren't going to go for that. They're going to go for the podcast. They're going to go for the homemade entertainment you guys do. And you mentioned conventions. That's going to be your way to get to them publicly. So you'll go on tour at the conventions to support the stuff you do on your podcast. So I think it just puts more power. You don't have to talk to an executive. You don't have any rules or regulations. You do whatever the fuck you want. I think that's great.
There are a couple of filmmakers who were beginning to reacquire the rights to their stuff. And rather than, sell it, having to get pennies from the man, if you want to see their stuff, hey, you just go to their site and it's peer to peer.
People always talk about like Killer Klowns. We don't own it, and they go, "Oh, you guys must have made a bad deal." Well, you know what? There was no other deal. If you wanted to keep any kind of rights, they go to the next guy who's going to give it away. So everybody in Hollywood has made that kind of deal. So now you don't have to. Now you can. A good example would be Marcel Lachelle with Shoes On. Jenny Slate and Dean Fleischer Camp, they did a funny little thing. put it on the internet. It's like a fluke for somebody else's mother just to see what they were kind of doing. And it caught on. 35 million hits,
Awesome.
2 books, and a feature
Awesome.
film, and an
Awesome.
Academy Award nomination.
Guess what I wear as a hat?
What?
A lentil. One time I nibbled on a piece of cheese and my cholesterol went up to 900. Guess what I used to tie my skis to my car?
What?
A hair. Guess what my skis are?
What?
Toenails from a man.
So
Mhm.
there is the power. If it's good, people will grasp it, and you can get the home run. And now you don't have to talk about executives and what's right and wrong and all that kind of stuff and get screwed. You own it. Well, they don't own the movie. They had to give them, I think A24 does. But anyway, they made a movie.
Yeah, they leveraged their content really as big as they possibly could, and isn't that the point of the exercise?
Well, yeah, well, to get it out. I don't know, it's artists. I don't know why we do this, but we do it just to kind of do our stuff and see how people like it. And if they like it, we have a big smile on our face. I remember we had just finished The Amazing Life Sea Monkeys. And, we had to go into some deficit funding. And we said, what's the cheapest show we could do that we could possibly do? And I was a big fan of Cops. And I said, let's do Cops with monsters. It was the cheapest thing. But I'll tell you that this is before Blair Witch. And everybody we pitched it to said, oh, no, the audience won't get it. They won't know if it's real or this or that. No, it can't be not. And nobody would even take a chance. Then the Blair Witch came out, and all of a sudden, faux reality. What a great concept. That's so far behind.
It sucks to be ahead of the curve.
You know what? I think we were with that one.
You absolutely were, and that is the worst place to be. The guy with the great idea, who no one sees it yet, and then it's the second guy in line goes, "Yeah, here's that same idea." They go, "You're a genius!" And finally,
Yeah.
Edward
That's
Chioda
really-
joined us.
We took the cheapest show to produce, Cops, and then complicated it with a Monster of the Week.
Well, we could have done it though. I think.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
could've.
no, exactly.
Oh
At
my
that
God, oh my
time, for
God.
sure.
Oh,
We did
there's
Sea Monkeys.
there's so many places to go. You guys originally hail from the Bronx.
Well, originally, actually, Charlie and I and my sister Diane, we were in the Bronx, but then our family got too big when we had Edward, so we moved out to Long Island, which was the country back in 1960. So we went to the wilderness.
Wait, go back. Where in the Bronx?
I guess Gun Hill Road.
Oh, yeah.
Down the
And
street from do you remember Freedom Land?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
we were down the block from Freedom Land.
And where in Long Island did you go?
Deer Park in Suffolk County.
Sure.
Right smack in the middle of Deer Park.
But it's pretty nice out there. That's really nice out there.
Yeah, it was a great place to grow up.
There were more trees than houses when we moved there.
Right.
It was great.
Did you guys grow up as film buffs? I mean, when did movie making, or was it what? God, where did it begin? Do you guys, was it monster movies first? Do you guys even think of yourselves as horror movies guys? How do you think of yourselves?
There's a gap between.
This sounded like
Edward
a
and
therapy
I.
session.
Yeah, it's really, what's wrong with you? Please start
It's about
explaining
this
now.
much. Actually, Edward has a different story than I do. It was always with me and Charlie, pretty much. I speak for him. It's been monster movies. I think we saw King Kong, the original King Kong, when we were very, very young. I was like 5, maybe, and it really left a big mark on us. I mean, me especially, because we had these elevated train tracks right down the block from where we lived. And when I saw King Kong rampaging through New York and tearing apart the trains, it was really surreal for me. We love dinosaurs, but seeing Kong in our neighborhood just left a big mark.
Sure.
So that was it for me, and it was always monsters. And we would see
How
Godzilla.
how old were you at the time that you saw King Kong?
About 5.
Very
I was
impressionable.
born in 54, and we moved out in 1960, so it was like 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6, somewhere around there. But Edward grew up on Long Island, and he had a different.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, again, I was certainly fascinated by the monsters, caught the monster bug early as well. But like probably like my life-changing incident was my dad took me to see 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1968.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me. And I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
I always loved movies, but that one just was different. It just impacted me, and at 8-year-old, I was just kind of overwhelmed by the sights, the sounds, the overall experience. And it just kind of hit me that movies are more than just like little romps, little fun things. I mean, I'm articulating it in a much more sophisticated, not really, way than I did at 8 years old, but it definitely impacted me that this was something that fascinated me and I wanted to do more.
Mm-hmm. You wanted to, seeing it, you wanted to do it.
Yeah. Again, and Charlie and Steven had been active making their own movies, and then I used to help out with that. I mean, there's an 8-year gap between me and Charlie. Charlie's the oldest. Steven is 2 years younger than him. So, different at that age, that's light years. But still, I was still there, active participant, watching and learning. Just that when I went off and started doing my own stuff, it was a little more, it was just like a slightly different take, but always fascinated by the effects, the visual effects, especially.
Yeah, for us, it was a form of play. We had army men and dinosaurs, and we used to go down in the woods and the dirt and make little stories up. And then when we got an 8mm camera,
when was the first time you picked up that 8mm camera? How old were you if you had that in your hands?
I was about 10. I think the first stop motion I did, I was 10 years old. My parents bought it for like homemaking movies, home movies and stuff. Sure. And actually, Charlie, they got it for Christmas, and Charlie went up into the attic when my parents would hide the gifts, and he saw it like a month before we actually got it. So he and I were planning movies. We were saying, "Oh, let's make a movie," and we had like little rubber animals and army soldiers, and we were going to pull them by strings to animate them, because we didn't even know what animation was until we, got a camera.
But it's funny, film was a part of our existence even from when we were born. Our grandfather had a 16mm. We would film all the family events, anniversaries, engagement parties, baptisms, weddings, Christmas, Thanksgiving. And whenever the families got together, he would bring out the 16mm movie projector, and we'd show the home movies. In fact, actually, we have our Uncle Fritz, his 16mm projector, which was the workhorse. That's the one we had, and he was a tinkerer. He would modify it. He had like a rheostat on it, so whenever you touch Uncle Fritz's projector, you would get a shock. So I mean, so it was like, there was this fascination with that technology, the moving pictures, the projector, that something magical about that light, that sound.
And back in the day when it was 8mm or super 8mm film, and you were cutting it with that little machine, the little editing thing, and
little tape
with little pieces of Scotch tape, more or less. It was a painstaking, fidgety little process. You were in touch with it. And there was something, I don't know, elemental and organic about all of it. In the old days of editing, when you'd take a grease pencil and you'd mark your fade from one place on one part of the film to the other.
Like this.
Yeah.
The dreaded cone sprocket holes.
Oh yeah. But for me and Charlie was an illustrator. He could always draw, so he would do drawings and stuff. And create backgrounds, and I was a sculptor, so I ended up making clay figures and animating. So we kind of complemented each other in different ways to make films. And then we invented techniques called we did forced perspective, and we didn't know anything about movie making, but we kind of, in our own little hobby way, our do-it-yourself way, created matte paintings. We didn't paint on glass. Charlie would paint something on a mat board, and then we'd cut out the negative space, and then we'd hold it up in front of the camera. So we'd have these gigantic mushrooms, and we'd walk through a mushroom forest. We didn't know that they did it with glass. We didn't know so much. And
I think you'll find that's the case with a lot of, like, especially stop motion animators. The Jim Danforths, the David Allens of the world, Doug Beswicks, Jim Pearl, that back when we were growing up, there wasn't Cine Fantastique, there weren't online, didn't have the Stan Winston school that showed you all these techniques and stuff. So you would invent it as you went along. Maybe you'd see something in this, Famous Monsters of Filmland, a grainy picture that sort of showed Ray animating something on a tabletop with a piece of glass, but there was no step-by-step revealing of the techniques. So we're all tinkerers. We all made it up as we went along.
Indeed. Indeed, and discovered and failed, and it made every time you failed and screwed up and spent hours doing something the wrong way. It was like a piece of IKEA furniture, wasn't it? and to suddenly go back and recut it the way that it had to be. But the education therein was fantastic. You learned how to tell a story with this medium in a way that you couldn't learn. It's really hard to learn digitally. Because
and it's funny, without any influence of the industry. Why I raised my arm? Because we grew up on, we were growing up on Long Island when this was happening, and there's a film industry in New York, obviously, but that was like Manhattan, and that was like Martin Scorsese, Woody Allen movies. It was a different thing. They didn't make, Seven Voyages of Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts,
movies
out of the New York film markets. It was. So there, we didn't have a neighbor that was a grip or a gaffer. So it was totally foreign for us.
Oh yeah, we used to enter film festivals too, like the Kodak Awards and all these different things. And we would always come in like second or third.
Honorable mention.
Yeah, or honorable mention, because they were making movies about the ecology or the war, like high art. And we were doing like monster movies.
You were like Moses. You were like Moses staring at the promised land, thinking, how the hell do I get from here to there?
Yeah.
But we did do an ecology movie called Sludge Grubs. They were giant crabs that came out of garbage. So that was our ecology movie.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, Stephen, you ended up going to Rochester, the Rochester Institute of Technology.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And you were awarded Best Young Director at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes, that's really funny. I made, in my sophomore year, I made a little fable about a cricket that couldn't jump, all stop motion with a front projected background. Had slides, foliage. And I guess I entered the Golden Eagle Awards, American Golden Eagles, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know it at the time, but they would then send winners to other countries. So one day I get a letter with this trophy that looked like it was bent, and it said, I won this thing at the Cannes Film Festival. And I said, what the hell is that? So it took me like a year to finally figure out that it was really a prestige award. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't very educated in the world.
Well, that's it. Part of growing up, not really knowing or caring about the business of it all.
Yeah.
You probably thought it was a prank that Charlie was putting
Well, it was funny. Usually a trophy is like a perfect circle. They would have a circle. And this one was kind of bent like that. That's the French for you. And I thought, it got destroyed in the shipping. I didn't know what it was. And then I went to New York when I graduated, and people started saying, oh, what's this? I had on my resume. Oh, and they told me what it was. And it kind of, it is what it is.
Do you feel like Rochester contributed anything to what you became?
Nope. I'll tell you what, our RIT is a fantastic school right now. It's grown so much. I wish I was going there now. I think I went to the wrong school. I love the equipment. I felt I could make my movies there with all the equipment they had, but they didn't have a motion picture. They didn't have a motion picture discipline, and they didn't have a degree. So I had to take photo illustration was what I took, a photography thing. But every class that I had, I was making a film, like the cricket film I made. I would go to my art class and I'd say, I want to make puppets for my film. And they said, okay. My photojournalism class, I'm writing a screenplay for my film. Okay. So I did independent study. So I majored in independent study and just made a bunch of movies. That was my education at RIT, because they didn't have a film major.
At that point, that's unfortunate. It sucks to be ahead of the curve yet again.
Yeah, it was talking about 1972 to 76. That's when I went there. But now, state-of-the-art equipment there, animation department, CG, computers. It's just a really wonderful campus and school.
Edward, where did you go?
Several places. I started out at SUNY Purchase. Through high school, I became fascinated with the tech. I was always a bit of a photographer, had my own darkroom at home and stuff. But in high school, I really latched onto the theater arts department, and I was a lighting designer since I was in 10th grade. I was lighting all the senior shows and productions and things. So I always had this. I always wanted to make movies, but again, my first and foremost thing was doing lighting for television, for theater stage. So I went to Purchase, which is had a state of the art theater complex and things. And I went there for a year and then decided that, and it was me. I was 17 when I went away to college, and I wasn't really quite ready for the environment. And it kind of just slapped me in the face that no, I really wanted to do film. I wanted to make movies. And part of that was just the way Purchase was set up, like especially freshmen coming in, we were kind of slave labor for the brand new theater arts complex they had just made. Great people, it would have been a fast track to potential lighting designer on Broadway and top-notch productions, but I just my heart wasn't in it. So I left after a year. It was a great year. I learned a lot actually in that year about myself and just things in general. But then I went to SUNY Stony Brook on Long Island for a year and a half, and I transitioned from theater into film there, and then I ultimately went to Hofstra, and I got my degree in communications. They had a great little indie film department there. They had theater if I wanted to put my toes back in the water, and a great television department. And that's where I met some of my lifelong friends came from Hofstra. That was a great experience.
So you ultimately found your place.
Yeah. I was on the 5-year plan. Our parents, they kind of didn't question it. They would help us out with financial aid and help us with the tuition. We all had student loans, but Charlie went to Pratt Institute. Stephen went to RIT, private universities. I ultimately went to a private university. I think they maybe caught a break with our sister. She went to a state university for her college career.
Yeah, what's interesting about my folks, they didn't really understand what we were doing. They weren't artists themselves, and it was really foreign, but maybe they saw our passion.
What did your folks do? What? Well,
my father did a bunch of things, but he ended up doing 25 years in the penitentiary. No, a post office. He was in the post office, and my mother worked in she worked in a bank. So they were pretty much blue collar workers, but they just gave us the film. They gave us a projector. They gave us the time and anything we wanted so we could follow this dream of what we wanted to do.
Which is a wonderful testament to just their faith in your nature, that, you were going to go off on a route that was absolutely foreign to them. They hard for them to make sense of.
I looked when we were clearing out the house, I was looking back through some of my dad's stuff when he was younger. He definitely had an artistic side to him. We would look at his school notebooks. They were impeccable. The note taking, the diagrams and stuff, added color here and there. So there was a presentation quality in him. He worked in the shoe line before he worked for the post office. The plant he was working at, they went out of business. So then he got the civil service job. But even there, he was a cobbler. He was making shoes. So it's funny, but in their generation, post-Depression, World War II,
very, very hard for them. Really, really hard for them to take a leap of faith where your work is concerned. And we all took a leap of faith.
Yeah, we did.
And they supported us. I don't think till the day they left us, I don't think they really understood what we did for a living.
But it was really great. They did visit us at the set of Killer Klowns when we had a giant tent there. And I know my mom was just tickled pink with the actors that were there and everything. And I think they did have an opportunity to see that we actually were able to do something pretty big.
I think we may have had the same parents. I had the same thing. They had no idea what I did for a living. But friends of my parents would say to my dad, "So what's going on with your son? What's he doing?" And my dad would say, eventually he would say, "Well, look, he doesn't ask me for money. I don't think he's doing drugs, and he seems to be happy. So he'll grow out of it."
And where did you grow up, Gil? Where
Yonkers.
Oh, Yonkers.
Yeah, just right up the block from us. Yeah,
just like the North Bronx, Yonkers.
Yeah,
we had relatives. Our aunt, my godmother, lived on in Yonkers. I try to remember the name. Olin View Avenue was the Bronx. That was Grandma's house.
I'm telling you, we had the same parents.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My parents never knew what I did for a living. Never knew. I once sat my dad down in my apartment in New York, and I said, "Look, here's my diary of what I do. So just pick a page, and I'll walk you through everything I do in that day, and then you'll know." I said, "That's a good idea." So we started. Go, look, I get up very early because I have some investors in Europe. So I talked to them first. So I got to get up early because it's 6 hours later in Switzerland, and then I do this. Yeah. And then I do this, and then I have lunch with this writer, and then I talk about that, and I try to get this over with to Joe Papp, and I want to meet Bernie Gersten about, and yeah. And I go through the whole day, and after I'm exhausted explaining this to him, I go, so now you get it? You know, you understand? He goes, yeah. So what do you do for a living?
What do you do for a living? It was Laurel Place. Laurel Place,
yeah.
In Yonkers.
Oh, yeah.
My parents visited the set of Tales from the Crypt. In fact, my dad was Tales from the Crypt's medical consultant. Whenever we needed to do an effect that was especially ooky, I'd call him up and say, "All right, if we did this to the human body, or what would be a really disgusting disease that would look like," and my dad would fill in those lovely blanks. You know, some of my fondest memories were sitting with Todd Masters, our special effects guru, just with a pathology textbook.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at, oh, that's really disgusting. Let's try to recreate that. My dad, in fact, in one of the Crypt Keeper segments, the Crypt Keeper, is operating or doing something to my father. My father saw every aspect of what I did for a living. In fact, one day on the set, our first assistant director, Lee Webb, gave my dad the job of, he was the remote cue on a doorway. And so,
that's great. That's really nice to share.
He saw every facet of what I do for a living, and he still couldn't. When his friends would ask him, I'm not quite sure what Alan does, though.
Oh, yeah.
He saw what everyone else did on the set. He had no idea what I did.
Well, after he had that experience, he came to me and he actually wanted to replace Alan.
And there were some serious conversations.
That's funny. Yeah, our mom would get a kick out of visiting the set, like on Klowns. They came for the last week of shooting, and that's the week Royal Dano was on set with us. So that's, that was a name from their era. So that they got to hang with him, and she loved going down to Sea Monkeys, and she got to meet Howie Mandel. So she liked that aspect of it. She understood that the celebrity.
I'm telling you, we had the same mother. My mom, we were making Bordello of Blood, and Whoopi Goldberg, who was a friend, said she had wanted to be in the movie, and so Alan and I wrote a scene where we put Whoopi into the scene, and so Whoopi's there. My mother's outside next to me near the monitor, and she's looking at the monitor, and she's going, "What am I looking at?" I said, "Inside, see that wall? On the other side of that wall is a set, and you're looking in there." And he goes, "What's that black girl doing there?" And I said, she's in the show. She's in the show. I know her. That's that funny woman. And I said, "Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg." She said, "Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg. What is she doing here?"
That's funny. Yeah. No.
Never quite understood, she was a friend of ours and she was doing us a favor.
Yeah.
When did you ultimately, did you come out to LA one by one, dribs and drabs, or was it a collective assault on the town?
Actually, probably me as the pioneer going through things. When I graduated, I went back to Long Island. I was working in Manhattan for a little while, but I hated commercials. I had always told stories, and the last thing I wanted to do was animate little objects on a commercial. So a good friend of mine, Chris Roth, editor on Killer Klowns and Leprechaun, so many good, cool movies.
He just passed away. He just passed away, didn't he? Sorry to hear that. Anyway.
Yeah, great guy. And he knew me and my work. We worked together at RIT. He was in Washington, D.C., and he found a company called Stomar Enterprises that was doing clay animation. And he said, I should come down there. So I went down to interview, and I got the job like that. It was exactly what I've done pretty much all my life up to then. And I worked there for about 4 years, and we made the first clay animation feature film called I Go Pogo, based on Walt Kelly's Pogo comic strip. back in the 60s and 70s. And after that, there was not much going on. So, oh yeah, and I got Charlie to come down. I was down there with a bunch of people who had not really made movies before. Not that I made movies, but doing animation and stuff. And we're doing a feature. They needed a production designer. And Charlie was working at ABC News in Manhattan. He had a really great job, union job, working on the news. And I said, Charlie, why don't you come down here and let's make this movie? So he quit that, came down to Washington. So Charlie and I were kind of spearheading the creative on this feature. And when that ended,
Mom understood that. She did not want him to quit.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, I'll bet that was a loud argument.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that. Am I frozen, guys?
No, you're good.
No.
Okay, because my image here is. Well, anyway, the long story short,
right.
Charlie went down to DC, and again, Chris Roth, who was working down there, he went to California. And when Pogo stopped, there was nothing much else to do there, so we decided to go to California. And so Charlie and I went there in 1980, and then we started working for a company called Magic Lantern. Tony Dublin and some guys, they were doing the Jews in Space sequence in Mel Brooks' A History of the World. Charlie and I got a job there. And we started working as Charlie was a designer, a 2D guy, and a painter of prosthetics and stuff. And I was a sculptor and an animator. So we were getting a couple of jobs in LA. And all of a sudden, people started liking our work. And we kind of branched off and started CHIODA Brothers Productions as an effects company with the idea of making films. We were always writing and creating stories and stuff. And we were trying to get something going. And then Edward joined us while we were on set for Albert Pion's Sword and the Sorcerer. We made the Crypt of Heads, and Edward came from the airport, went to Bronson Caves, and was immediately thrust into the cave to puppeteer this giant Crypt of Heads.
It was August 25th, 1981.
Wow.
My 21st birthday. Yeah.
And then we collaborated. And just through word of mouth, we never really advertised, but we had a style. I don't know how to describe it, but it was something about even the most realistic thing we did always had a character bent to it that seemed to be reach people better.
There's a flavor of whimsy.
I don't know what it is. It was really quick. It's really funny, really quick. We did a little promo for our company, a little punk rock dinosaur with a spray painting our name on bricks, and we won some kind of festival award. And then somebody was looking for dinosaur documentary footage, and Bill Stout said, "Oh, go to the CHIODA Brothers. They got this dinosaur footage." And we met this guy, Richard Jones, who worked at ABC local. And then he said, "You know what? I know these guys at ABC. They have extra money for specials. You guys have an idea?" And we came up with an idea to do a half-hour special, after-school special for KBC. I directed it. It was live action and animation called Cousin Kevin, about a young boy who has a vivid imagination derived from all the books he's read. And whenever he thinks, becomes real. And he subjects his older cousin to this nightmare adventure as they're camping out in their backyard. It was great. And then what was it? We worked for Fairy Tale Theater, Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall. Welcome to Fairy Tale Theater.
Yeah, that was a cool show.
We were doing all the special props. And Fred Fuchs, the producer, said, "Oh, I know some guys who have some money for some films." It was direct-to-video days with Blockbuster and all that. And we said, "Yeah, we have an idea. Kill the Clowns from Outer Space." So we went there and we pitched it in the room with a maquette that I made of a clown with a puppet holding a ray gun. And Charlie did a poster. We had a treatment and we sold it in the room.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Wow. Awesome. I mean, how can you not sell that in the room?
This is easy, we thought. This is easy.
Yeah, we could do this. We sold it. How easy to make a movie.
The only thing we learned, though, the only thing more difficult but selling your first movie is trying to sell a second one after the first one didn't make any money at the box office.
Ouch. Damn. Yeah, some things take time to find their audience.
Yeah, we're still out there, though. We haven't made that second feature yet. But we've done everything else. We've had a TV show, we've had a streaming special, we've done blessed, actually.
You've ended up while you're waiting to do your second movie, you guys have done work on some amazing projects, and there's one that I just want to. Well, we'll come to that one first. First of all, Marcel, the Shell with Shoes On. Wow, just to be involved with that project. Wow, it is so funny.
Guess what I use as a beanbag chair? A raisin. Guess what I do for adventure? I hang glide on a Dorito. Guess what I use as a pen?
What?
I use a pen, but it takes the whole family.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the one that's I gotta say, if it's not at the top of the list, it's really close to it in terms of like career fulfillment. There's a special project. We worked on it for 7 years.
It's utterly magical in how captivating that little character is.
And that's really a testament to the director creator, Dean Fleischer Camp and Jenny Slate. They just hit upon something that had this incredible heart, in their original shorts and then 2 books. And Dean was just, I don't want to say relentless but it was just this
passionate.
Yeah. Passionate. Yeah. Better word. Just on maintaining the authenticity of it, keep this character wholesome and true to their vision. And they had partners in reach.
She performs the voice.
Yeah, Jenny Slate's the voice of Marcel.
Jenny Slate, yeah, she's wonderful. It would be so easy to miss that and to hit that annoying note instead. And there's just something captivating and lovely. And
well, their process, they worked with a writer friend of theirs, Nick Paley, and they would come up with basic little premise, and then they would just go, and Dean would act as interviewer and just ask Jenny, Marcel, these questions, and it was stream of consciousness. Then they'd go away, they'd work it out, and then figure out what the next through line is, and they came back. Then they brought Isabella Rossellini in to play Nana Connie, and Cinereach, the New York-based company that financed it, just let them go. It was supposed to be a year project. It's funny, it was never a big budget movie. So funny, our fee, when I put together the budget and schedule and stuff like that, I thought we could do it in a year, maybe a year and a half if the creative took a little longer. And all right, the fee was okay. It was like, it's not a bad fee for a year's worth of work, a year and a half. But that turned out to be the fee for 7 years. So, but at a certain point, it became a truly a passion project that we're in this because we love this. And Cinereach just let them go. It took them a year to do that audio play portion. Then it took them another year to do the animatic component of it. And then our animation director, Kirsten Lepore, who's phenomenal, she went and had a baby. And then we were doing Alien Christmas for Netflix at the same time. So then we went and we made the movie 3 times. The animatic, we shot a live action version of it, and then we went back and redid the movie, putting Marcel in it all. And like I said, it's really a testament to Dean and Jenny. And Liz Holm. She was the producer that went to them with the notion that this had feature potential. And, she was the one that kind of put it all together, brought all the pieces together.
The claymation sequences you've done on The Simpsons over the years are just fucking wonderful.
What you making there, Gravy?
It's a pipe bomb, Jobriath, for to blow up Planned Parenthood.
I don't know, Gravy.
I'm sick of your lack of faith.
What gravy?
Wonderful.
Oh,
every time you do one of the Gumby things, just doing that cloaky.
Yeah, that was it. Whenever they would do a parody of, let's say, Rankin and Bass Holiday Special or Art Clokey's stuff, anything like that, they would come to us, and we would do a Simpsonized version of. We did a Wallace and Gromit parody called Willis and Crumble.
Crumble! Crumble! Where has that silly dog got to? Oh, my.
Fantastic. It's
And even Nick
so
Park
funny.
said he thought it was good. So I was really happy with that.
Yeah, it's fun working with them because they love animation. They love to stretch their legs, so whenever they go off model, they give us a call. And we even got to do live action puppets with them and got to shoot Katy Perry.
Someone totally needs a hug.
That's a great sequence. That whole sequence where she comes in at the end. Yes, she's the girlfriend. She's
Mo's girlfriend.
Mo's girlfriend for the weekend.
And that was that was the only live action clip in these 25 plus years of The Simpsons.
You also did Team America. You did a lot of work on Team America, and that is hilarious.
Terrorize this.
That is one of the funniest movies ever. Just screaming out loud funny movie.
Impossible movie. Impossible.
Yeah.
Making an Armageddon type action disaster movie with marionettes.
And that's the funniest thing. The funniest thing about it, really and truly, is puppets.
Once again, a testament to the creators, Matt and Trey. Just incredible talent. Trey in particular, just like he's just brilliant. And it's funny, the story, we didn't start that movie. They started with another company. And they did a little test, like a 2-week shoot, and it didn't go well. The other company built beautiful puppets. They're friends of ours, beautiful puppets. But when it came to the logistics of production, mounting that production, it wasn't their strength. It wasn't what they did. So they came to us because not only do we do effects, but we knew how to run a production. We knew how to work. They knew we would be sympathetic for production because we had done our own productions.
You were filmmakers in addition
exactly.
to being puppeteers, and that makes a huge difference. You know how to think with that hat on.
Yeah, so they gave us the script, and we read the script, and it was fucking insane. The climax of the movie was on the Golden Gate Bridge with the Chinese army on one side, the Korean army on the other side, a school bus full of children on the bridge during an earthquake. And I said, okay, this is fun. This is gonna be really hard. I said, let us do an inventory of the puppets. Let's see how much you guys built, and let's talk about the budget. And so we went down there again. Beautiful technology, beautiful puppets. And my assessment was they had done 30% of the work, but it spent 70% of the budget. And
so we said no.
The good folks at Paramount wanted us to do it for the remaining money. We said no, it can't be done. Thank you. Good luck. We walked away. And then they came back and they upped the budget. And we said, still not enough. The things they're talking about are really expensive. Or whether they're going to do a rewrite, they're going to change it, they're going to pull it back. And when we said
smaller bridge,
we just can't. Let's do something else. So we walked away again, and then it's funny. Then the head of production, Ralph Baksh's son, called us and said, "Look, I can't guarantee you more work, but I'm asking as a personal favor to me, do this movie. We'll work on your money, work on your fees." And he says, but I can't ever I'm not going to guarantee you, this is going to be open up all these doors and you're going to get all this work. But he said, what I will guarantee is that we're going to respect you. We're going to listen to you. And I'm going to make sure everybody on the lot knows what you did. And with that, it's kind of hard to say no. And we came up with a suitable budget stuff. And we took on the job. And it was 9.5 months of nonstop, the hardest we ever worked, even on our own production.
The team doing this movie is unbelievable. I mean, between the CHIODA brothers and every single side of it.
It's mind-boggling how many puppets are working sometimes at one time. I've seen some of the backstage, how you did it, and it's just, just to build the framework around the set so you could work and have, be able to work with free lines was an undertaking.
Oh, absolutely. It was like mounting an army for every shot. Now you have a live action crew who's used to doing maybe 30 setups a day, and doing one or two, because it just took so long to get this army of puppeteers on this gantry that was 15 feet tall, wiring all the puppets 15 feet, getting the monitors in place, all the headphones and everything. It's like a bunch of cats in a basket. And we were going so slow. And then we started to have 2, 3, how many units? Five
at the end of the thing. And by the end of the shoot. Funny, Bill Pope, he would knock out the New York Times crossword puzzle before lunch. That's because we were so slow.
And then we were shooting at a warehouse in Culver City. And then we shot on the Fox lot. So 2 separate units on 2 separate lots. It was the most challenging thing I've ever worked on. It was really, really tough and grueling. But I think what really got us the job too was the performance. What Matt and Trey wanted, they didn't want these perfectly human performances that I think the first team of puppeteers was going to be giving. They wanted the puppets to be like puppets with all of the inabilities kind of built in, because that's where the humor came from. You had this kick-ass team of professionals, and when they bump into something, they go like this and they bounce around and fight like this.
It's
that
hilarious.
Humor.
It's hilarious. That is
And
so
we got it.
funny.
We had some purists that were insulted by that, thought they were making fun of the technique. Well, yeah, they were, but this is chill. This is the best job you've ever had. The most days on a movie you've ever had.
The sex scene is brilliant. I mean, it is hilarious that they had to cut it to get a rating. To get the rating, they had to cut. It's puppets, you idiots. It's puppets.
Yeah. But they did that on purpose, right?
Yeah. But
no, I'll tell you, they put those scenes in there so the censors would go, "Oh, take that out," so they would.
Well, of course they did. Of course they did. But
so they would overlook some other stuff.
Yeah, but then they had 2 releases. They had the R version and the X-rated version. So those guys.
It's genius, and it's
a funny story. I'll see if I can tell.
Stunningly funny.
The original team, they had done the first sequence they did was Spotswood and Gary in the dressing room. And the stories I heard, that was just a nightmare. There was one particular puppeteer on the older side, brilliant marionettist, known for his puppets and stuff, brilliant, top notch. But he was yelling down from the bridge, the puppet bridge, at Trey, "You can't do that. Puppets don't do that. It's impossible." And that's one of the reasons that they didn't want to work with this company. And so it's funny, when we were starting to go to 3, 4, and then 5 units, we were in desperate need of quality puppeteers. The puppeteers, they're abundant in this town, really great ones. Marionetteists, not so much. So we were desperate to get people. So I got this guy's audition, I cut it back together, and I went to Ann Garofino, the producer, their producer, and I said, "Ann, we're really hurting. We need puppeteers. Here, take a look at his reel. Take a look at his work, because I'd really like to bring him on." And Ann just pushed the tape back and said, "If Trey ever sees him again, he will kill him." And
yeah, he said the wrong thing. He really did.
As desperate as we were, we could not bring this gentleman back.
But you're right, Alan. We did have. I was kind of coordinating the puppeteers, and we had 80 puppeteers under the stands during the Rent musical, and the same thing in the big Kim Jong Un's festival at the end, crammed together with, like, we had some rod puppets and marionettes all mixed in, but it was just so. That's why they don't make marionette movies. You won't find urgency, and we learned why.
Yeah, truly. Was anyone taking video of the choreography of all of you working together? Because that must have been remarkable. Just how you all.
This was some good behind the scenes stuff, and we have some stuff that is not on that EPK, not on the DVD stuff. Yeah, I mean, just for reference, we made approximately 60 puppets that we turned into well over 200 characters in that movie. It was we had our basic crew of like anywhere from 12 to 15 people, 18 people a day working the day shift. And then we had a 5 or 6 person night crew that would come in and repair and prep the puppets for the next day.
So that's just a puppet crew. That's
Yeah.
not the puppeteers.
Yeah, and then we had because we were the puppets, they mounted it like a regular production. So typically, like when you do a special effect, you're responsible for everything of that character. You do the wardrobe, you deal with the props and stuff. They didn't do that on this. We were just responsible for the puppets and their performance. So we had a separate costume department, a separate prop department, and there was a whole miniature crew building the whole thing. So it's funny, but because we were doing the puppets and everything revolved around them, we had to wait for every other department to get their shit together and get it on the puppet. So we were always the last ones holding the bag. So we were always the responsible party. Why we're late? Why are we behind?
Why aren't we ready?
Yeah. Well, wardrobe.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, wardrobe took an hour to dress this puppet, or props there. The rig for shooting the guns wasn't quite ready yet. So we can never, we were always the last guys in the chain.
And there you are pointing the fingers at everybody else. Oh
Yep.
my God.
So it's funny, on the very, very first day of shooting, we had done a test shoot of the face-off sequence where they make Gary up, and we learned a lot from that. And then we went away. We adjusted the inventory of how we were going to do the puppets and stuff. But then the first day we were shooting, and we all show up, and none of us were ready. We weren't ready. Props wasn't ready. Wardrobe wasn't ready. Art department wasn't ready. And everyone was afraid to go to production and tell them that they weren't ready. We needed more time. And just when it came time to the shoot call, we blew the generator for the building and the power went out.
I think it was my mother. I think my mother, Evan. It took the boys out.
It took a half day for them to bring a plant in and get it hooked up. And by the time they got it in, we had all caught up.
Yeah, it's funny. Gil and I can have told horror stories on our podcast about waiting for special effects guys to have their shit ready. But at the end of the day, it's the work is great, and you make us look great. So inevitably we're indebted to you.
Yeah, the reality is very almost all the time we're working with prototypes, something that we threw together in the shop in a 6-8 week period. And it kind of works in the shop, but you don't really know. You don't have the time to dismantle it and then rebuild it for a functioning thing. Only on rare occasions, like the Rick Bakers, the Stan Winston's of the world got that luxury.
Yeah, they have 6 months to develop it, and then that's their prototype. Then they build the hero.
Real deal. So we're figuring out, and then so much, and then unless there's a principal in our effects shot, we're always relegated to last shot on a Friday night.
Yeah, but I do want to do a shout out to Norman Tempia and Dave Nelson. They were the designers of the original puppets that we kind of took over production. Norman worked with us as a puppeteer and a fabricator all through the production. Extremely talented guys, but I think it was just the performers that they were working with that was what got Matt and Trey a little under.
Their work was spectacular, and Norman was a friend. We had worked with him quite a bit before, so when the production asked, would we consider having him on as a puppet supervisor, we said absolutely. We could definitely work with him.
It was necessary because he knew the ins and outs in the construction, and he's really talented. So it was always a joy to work with Norman.
He wasn't the puppeteer on the bridge.
Where did the killer clowns idea come from?
Well, I guess that was me. I was playing around with what is the most frightening thing I could imagine? What would scare the hell out of me? And I just started thinking, what could that be? And I thought, well, if I was driving down a lonely mountain road in the middle of the night and I see a car passing me, and as it passes me, I look to see who's driving, and a clown goes, and it's a clown. A clown being where it shouldn't be is frightening. In fact, it was Lon Chaney had that quote, "There's nothing more frightening than a clown after midnight."
Yeah.
And I think I tapped into that just unconsciously. And then we spun it into Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
You're just adding more fanciful elements. What if the clown wasn't in a car? What if it was just floating out there? Well, that would make him otherworldly from outer space. Well, they're from outer space. What are they doing here? Well, they're here to kill us, of course. And
It's a great title.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, and adding from outer space, that's how we know it's not a slasher movie.
Well, that's it exactly, Alan. In fact, when they first tried to sell the film at Film Mart, they called it Killer Clowns, and we said, no, 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 no. I mean, if you're disappointed with the film, you just got to look at the title. It's exactly what did you expect.
Indeed. It's a strange thing. I know the clowns have names because you talk about them, but in the movie they don't actually have names. There's not a Groucho, a Chico, a Harpo, a Gummo clown. There's the big one, the big clown at the end.
Clownzilla.
Yeah, for reference purposes only, we needed to call them something so we could differentiate them and get when we wanted something on set, so we could track them from a continuity standpoint. But yeah, they were never intended to have names in the real world. And it's funny, and some of the names kind of trickled through, but for the most part, they're all fan applications.
Why did you not give them names?
Because in the context of the story, they weren't characters that needed names. They were this alien race of pulpy white slugs with markings that made them look like clowns. They were things. They weren't really characters. But again, this is the CHIODA brother thing. I don't know what, but they became characters like Shorty. We called him Tiny during the shoot. I mean, that's the fan favorite. Everybody loves Tiny, and they call him Shorty. Well, we didn't want to fight the fans when they wanted to do the Funko Pops. We said, go with what the fans call them, because they'd hate us if we changed it. But everybody loved that character because he was like,
and it's not like the names we called them on set were like innovative and like Tiny, Fatso, Chubby,
Bubbles, Slim, Killer,
Stretch,
Ozab. Ozab was Bozo spelled backwards. I mean,
would you say that their personalities evolved over time?
Yes, from the movie. I think people kind of get a different sense. Like Shorty, the fact that he was picked on by that bully. I mean, they love him because they feel sorry for him. Killer is the one. Is it Jumbo or Killer that gets mooned?
Killer. We called Killer, and the fans call him Jumbo. That's the one that threatened, taunted the little girl outside the Big Top Burger, and the one that kills Officer Mooney.
Yeah, not much thought went into. We just called him something.
Yeah. Hey, I just found out. When the clown we called Ozab, we actually did kind of call him Bozo on set, but funny, Fangoria came by and did an article about the making of the movie, and they took a picture of it and they captioned it. Oh, this cozy fellow is nicknamed Bozo, and Larry Harmon saw it and threatened Trans World with trademark infringement, rightfully so, I guess.
Well, for a clown, he had no sense of humor.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, no, Larry Harmon, if you ever dealt with
no, I heard
it was all about the money. So they had to pay a go away fee, and I just found out David Arquette has bought Bozo the Clown trademark from Larry Harmon Corp.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just saw that the other day. They closed the deal at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, he likes puppets. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So maybe
a new life for Bozo the Clown. That's I don't know whether I like that or I don't like that.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't get clowns.
Well, it's funny. I think he's gonna have resistance. I think there's this. I think, and we've got this from other people. It's not a thesis that I necessarily came up with. That there was always people are always kind of uncomfortable. Clowns are not everybody, but a segment of the population has a little unnerved, uncomfortable by them. But our movie has brought that out in a public way, that it's cool to admit you're afraid of clowns. And people do not look at clowns the same way since our movie. I mean, you had Pennywise, but still, the Pennywise is a different thing. It's a shapeshifter. It's a different vibe, where now people don't trust clowns as like they used to. So yeah, I mean, so he might have a little battle,
unless he turns him malevolent.
How do we make a killer clowns from outer space 2 finally happen? I mean, do you what does it you would think with the resurgence with
We need some hot shit writers that have done in real renowned in the horror business.
Yeah.
Know any?
Well, I'll
I
tell you
wish
what
I
it is.
did.
I'll tell you what it is. I think it's always been kind of perceived as a cult film, and studios without box office to back it up won't finance something that was, let's say, a box office nothing. But now it's interesting. I think because of social media, has this resurgence because of the items and the merchandise. I think is driving it. You got Funko, you Spirit Halloween, you got the album, you got a video game coming out, and I think the fans' interest, if they continue to enjoy and purchase all this merchandise, is going to show the powers that be that this is not a cult film. It's a pop culture phenomenon that they could then start to mine other things. So we think with the success of all of this merchandise, it's going to give us probably the leg up for the first time ever that there could be something going on.
You remember I said that Napster came for everybody? Well, that's that's the Napster effect, because literally it is the ability of fans. You know, when you cast a movie now and you got to choose between 2 actors, you'll choose the actor with the better social media following.
Yeah.
Because they're going to bring more eyeballs to the project.
Yeah. So we're hoping the video game will be kind of that real world barometer of what its reach is and popularity. You know, if it does well like we think it's going to, then I think we open up some eyes.
Do you have a script ready? Have you do you have, if someone suddenly, if an executive suddenly had that flash of genius and suddenly went, well, we don't need to spend a fortune on this, but we could make, a Killer Klowns 2 for that number there and probably make a ton.
No, we do have a script. We've been developing something all along, but we decided that we don't want to do a single theatrical movie. You put all this effort into a film, you have one weekend to prove its box office, and you don't know what you're up against. So all of that could just go down the tubes, and it ends up going on cable anyway. We are proposing a trilogy in 4 parts that is, and we've got one of the first scripts going, and it's an incredible arc. And we want to go to cable streaming. We want to have like a 8 to 10 part miniseries that we could really follow characters across a longer arc and really open up the world of Klowns, that whole universe. Because if we are merchandising it, we need to start feeding it with new ideas, new characters, new weaponry, new gizmos. And I think a feature film won't do it, but I do think keeping it on cable forever is going to launch what I think they feel is going to be the big money maker, which is merchandising.
Yeah.
Oh, considering how the world is, a streaming series, paid for by subscription or ad dollars is neither here nor there, but this is great content for a streaming environment. You could go so many places, and the audience, these days, you'd want to explore all the different ways the story could go, and you can't. Who's got the time in a feature and the risk
and demographics? It could be promoted on a specific streamer that caters to that genre. It's just it's so much more, deep compartmentalized these days in terms of what's available.
Yeah, and it's going to be a bigger budget over the long haul, but I think that's money well spent. Instead of spending, let's say, the equivalent of the budget on marketing and promoting it for 1 week, I think to put that money into a longer arc, so it's going to be on TV longer, I think is better value. So this is what we're trying to sell.
Yeah, better storytelling too, way better storytelling. Yeah, and there's a whole world that an audience would love. I think really would love to explore.
Yeah, and I think young audiences, they don't go to theater that much. They watch it on cable or on TV.
On
so
their phone, they want it on their phone, man. Yeah,
So,
really, truly, it's well.
We're hopeful.
Hopefully, there is some clever person who wears a suit to work every day who was going to hear this and claim the stroke of genius was theirs. Take it, please. Claim the stroke of genius.
Be a genius.
For the first time, we're finally working with MGM Consumer Products. We have an arrangement with them where we consult and we're contributing, to the consumer products thing, and it's vast. It's everything you can think about, publishing down to the widgets. and live entertainment like Halloween Horror Nights and live theater, escape rooms, all these potential things that we're talking about. It's really exciting, and they're exciting, and they keep asking us what's next on the creative side, because the more stuff that they get on the creative side, the more opportunities they have to mine for licensing opportunities.
There's so much potential. It wow, it's mind blowing. Well, guys, we cannot thank you enough for spending time with us today. Hey, since Charlie didn't make it, you want to talk behind his back for a few?
I wonder what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, he's the eldest one. Maybe he's taking a nap.
Yeah, maybe.
I think so.
I need to
having an opportunity to talk to you guys. I mean, come on. I want to thank you guys. You guys are classic horror guys, and really appreciate the time and effort you put into even talking to us. Thank you so much.
Oh, no. Really and truly, we missed an opportunity 1,000 years ago, and I'm still kicking myself.
Yeah, and it's long overdue. I mean, it's amazing that we haven't spoken to you guys in so long, and it's like, has it really been that long? And it has.
I talked to Mitch Stein. He still reps us, and he says, "Oh." He said hello next time I talk to you guys. So yeah.
I'll say hi back. Wow.
Yeah.
He's still working and
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we should continue talking, the four of us, that we ain't dead.
Yeah.
And we're still here creating shit, and we have very similar sensibilities.
Well, we'll throw some stuff at you guys, and you guys can throw some stuff at us, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then we'll all throw it at Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. We'll throw it at Mitch. Mitch, tell us.
Yeah, right.
That's his job.
He's the person to throw it. And indeed, thank you again, guys. And
thank you.
Thank
so
you,
good
everyone.
Seeing you.
Yeah, well, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. The How Not to Make a Movie podcast is executive produced by me, Alan Katz, by Gil Adler, and by Jason Stein. Our artwork was done by the amazing Jody Webster, and Jason Jody, along with Mando, are all the hosts of the fun and informative Dads from the Crypt podcast. Follow them for what my old pal the Crypt Keeper would have called terrific Crypt content.